Okay, so last Thursday, Uber got hacked publicly again, but whatever. That's not what I'm here to talk about today. Ambulance chasing. Ambulance chasing is when you try to solicit customers out of a disaster. The term originated from personal injury lawyers that used to literally chase ambulances and tried to get clients out of the scene of an emergency. Did you know there's a cybersecurity equivalent to that? Ambulance chasing in security is when a vendor tries to use a recent security incident to try to sell their product, either by going to a company like Uber and trying to claim that their solution would have stopped the hack from happening, or by doing something like writing a public blog post and telling everyone that if everyone buys their product, then that is the only way that they can stop themselves from becoming the next Uber. If you're a vendor and you're participating in ambulance chasing, you need to stop. First of all, your solution probably wouldn't have stopped the breach from happening. In public cases like this, the attacker is usually crafty, and even if you plugged one of the holes the attacker used, they probably would have just found another hole. But secondly, more importantly, you are publicly illustrating that you have no idea what it's like to go through a security incident like this. So let me put it into some perspective for you. Imagine you're a security engineer at a company like Uber, and you're under-resourced, overworked, and every day you wake up to try to make the security of the company that you're working for a little bit better than the day before. All of a sudden, something kind of weird happens. In this case, maybe people on Slack are reporting suspicious messages that popped up. You're gonna drop everything that you were currently working on and just focus on what's going on. Maybe like a TPM or a manager or something will pop in and say, hey, how come you didn't attend stand-up today? And you're just gonna tell them that there's an incident and you can't give them any details right now and they need to leave so that you can focus on it. So you're pulling logs, you're trying to figure out what's happening, you're slowly putting pieces together, and you know that you can't preemptively just start blocking access because you don't know all the places the attacker is. So if you act too soon, you may tip your hand and give the attacker an opportunity to bunker down. But likewise, you don't want to wait too long because the attacker is rummaging through your network and getting more and more access to stuff, and if you wait too long, they're going to get more data. So either way, your butt's glued to that chair, you're not leaving that room, and you are doing everything in your power to paint the entire picture of what happened, how much access the attacker has, and what you'll actually eventually need to remove them fully from your network. This process is going to take days. It's not going to be done quick, and you're certainly not going to get any sleep that night. Selectively, you're pulling in coworkers, you're pulling in managers, and you're giving them little bits and pieces of the story so that they can help you with the incident response. But really, you have to keep most people at arm's length because it'll take too much time to explain everything you know. At some point, leadership's going to get read in, law enforcement is probably going to get read in, and then in a situation like this, all of a sudden social media gets looped in because somebody posted a half-baked snippet that doesn't properly represent what's actually happening, but people on Twitter are already starting to form opinions.
As the initial waves of a newly public security incident begin to ripple, a group of infosec Twitter personalities quickly begins to take notice. It's been weeks since these hackers have tasted clout, and the hot take competition for the growing number of retweets about the news is fierce.
They're saying things like you're bad at your job. They're throwing around hot takes like what they would have done that would have prevented this hack from happening. Then all of a sudden, mainstream media picks up the news. And when they report on it, social media explodes from a niche in infosec Twitter to all of a sudden the public internet taking an interest in this story. And that's when the hot takes go fully off the rails. All of a sudden, everyone becomes an armchair security engineer and everyone has a hot take about how you're bad at your job and how you should just quit. Throw some death threats in there for good measure because it's the internet. Cool. Why are you doing this again? Why are you going through the incident? Right, to protect the users. Then, all of a sudden, a couple dozen vendors start pitching you on their next-gen cyber whatever, telling you how if you had only bought their product, you wouldn't have this problem. And in parallel with that, they start running marketing on their blog posts saying, well, we tried to help and we tried to engage, but they wouldn't reply to us. Most of those vendors aren't even relevant to the situation. Keep in mind, you're not even done with the incident yet. You're still going through logs and you're still asking yourself, why? Why am I doing this when the whole internet hates me? Right, to protect the users, doing it to protect the users, doing it to protect the users. Before you know it, everyone has a hot take. Everyone has a hot take. Your relatives start calling you, your coworkers start taking hot takes when really nobody knows what's actually going on. You are the most informed person on this incident, but everyone has already formed an opinion about it. And by the time you have a chance to actually do a retrospective and actually tell people what happened, everybody's already gonna have made up their minds, because surely the media and social media and everyone on the internet knows better than you because you couldn't have prevented this breach from happening, right? That is the environment that you're walking into as a vendor when you publish that blog post or send that email saying your solution would have stopped the hack from happening. So respectfully, to all the vendors participating in ambulance chasing, maybe off for like a couple of weeks, at least long enough so that the security team had a chance to sleep and maybe process their trauma a little bit while they're still going through the incident, before they've had a chance to even publicly tell anyone what actually happened. That's my personal hot take on this. I don't think anyone fully knows what happened in the Uber incident. No one knows what could have stopped this breach from happening because the people most qualified to answer that question are still working the incident. And if you're a vendor saying anything else, all you're doing is illustrating that you have never worked a real security job in your life. You've never worked a real incident in your life. And at this point, I'm just ranting, but I hope you can see how important this issue to me is because I've been on the other side of that table. I've been the one working the incident, and it sucks. And you don't need everyone piling on with their hot takes when you just are trying to figure out what happened and do your job. Okay, that's all I've got.